Hi.
Hi.
What's up? So this is so crazy. Okay, so we've got to get into the whole who you are, because a lot of my people, which is very interesting, don't know you.
That's absolutely true. Technically, even though it feels like we've been friends our whole life.
Whole life.
I'm actually having trouble seeing you. This microphone is very big.
Well, because I'm dainty. I'm dainty when I. I'm very.
That's what she said.
Welcome to my job every day, guys.
Can I? Oh my God,
You
it
good?
works. Okay.
Okay.
Hi, there's your beautiful face.
You thought I was gone. You were just talking to yourself over there.
You know.
No, so this is weird. This is I think that's what I love about this, is that not a lot of people know about you or who you are, but I speak a lot about you in good and bad ways.
Don't believe anything that she said, guys.
Unless it's good.
Not a word.
So let's just get to that part, because I hate when podcasts start that way, but you have to. I want my guests to know who you are. So how did we meet?
I had this crazy idea that I would create some sort of training course. We'll get into that in a minute. And I was like, but training courses are boring. And I'm
So
like,
boring.
So what do? You add comedy.
Yeah.
And I have no idea how I found your name, actually.
I think BNI group, Neil.
That might have been.
Neil gave Elizabeth my name, I think. I think.
That might be it.
I don't know.
And so we met up. This is one of my favorite parts. I met up with you and another comedian, Neil Rosin.
Yes.
And he was so dull. Do you remember that?
He's dry. He's got dry humor. Yeah.
And I remember like, okay, what order do you guys want to go? And you're like, I'll definitely close. And I'm thinking like, oh, thank God.
Remember he brought his backpack and like papers and like, I'm all like this.
I'm an engineer.
He's like, zippity-doo. And I'm like this, where do you want me? So we were definitely very different, but he's very fun because I've done several shows with him now.
Oh my word, I almost peed my pants. He's literally had me rolling on the ground.
He's brilliant.
Not literally. That'd have been really kind of weird. But
well, it would have been unsafe, honestly.
Unless people are jumping over, like it's kind of like bowling.
Anyway, but I remember walking away too, because that had been the first time I met him.
You're like, I can't believe I'm doing a show with this guy.
I'm like, what? That's going to be a weird show. Hopefully the show's in a conference room, because that's the only place he's going to work out. It was very odd. I'm like, okay. But yeah, so we met for that. And then, and I automatically was very intrigued, because we've never really talked about that day, because we had dinner. And I remember being so intrigued by, why am I doing comedy for an online training? Didn't understand. And we are going to get into that later, but it was very interesting. And you were like, I just want there to be laughter, and we're just going to talk about this. I'm like, but what do you want me to talk about? My comedy's all over the place. But ironically, I ended up talking about co-parenting because that's part of my story.
That's right.
And it did work out. So
that's right.
Yeah, it was a fun night. That was a good night. I left my notes at home that day. I don't even know if you know that.
You said it like 8 times.
Okay. Because I did. I wrote this great set, and then I literally got in the car. I was right here, and I was like, I left it all. So it was very, and that's nerve wracking. I mean, I know some comics
that's
can
worse than showing up like without pants.
100% worse, especially for me. So
I don't know. You probably look pretty good with no pants on.
Thank you, Mary Beth. She is an attorney. It's fine. She's allowed to say whatever she wants. Okay, so let's talk about you as Mary Beth, the attorney. How did that come about? Was that a lifelong dream? Was it who you? Just tell me, because I just think it's a cool story, and I want people to know about that.
Well, I have like 8 stories, but you know, honestly, I grew up by Hobby Airport. If you're a Houstonian, you know that's not exactly the nicest part of town.
It's Hobby.
But we used to play this board game called Life.
Yes.
Remember?
Yes.
So the 2 highest paying salaries on that board game were being I'm so serious. Were being a doctor or being a lawyer.
That is funny.
So I was like, I'm going to do one of those. Okay. So then I take biology in high school, and it is the only B, it was a C, that I ever got. And I was like, guess I'm going to be a lawyer then. I don't do science. It was really just the teacher's fault, but I digress.
It always is.
But honestly, that's what kind of started getting me thinking about that. I went to UT and woo woo, hook 'em horns. And we need to come up with like a counter whoop. Like the Aggie whoop is so annoying to me.
Whoop.
I just boo
Or whatever.
But then it kind of sounds like a whoop also.
Yeah,
So it's like
you gotta
I'm
be careful.
almost
You can't make
adding
any
to their
sound.
excitement. And anyway.
Anyway, yeah. We digress.
Sorry. I do not have ADHD. Maybe I do.
You do.
What do you guys think? Like therapists, like
Anybody out there?
Long story short, I had majored in corporate communications, loved it, which is so exciting because one of my professors in college is actually helping me create content for this new training course that we're coming up with. But
So cool.
I got a job with a lawyer after law school. I was kind of an assistant paralegal for about 2 years. And then, after undergrad, and then decided to just go ahead and go to law school. I knew I love education. I'm a lifetime learner.
Love
Will
that.
forever be that. Honestly, it's one of the reasons we named the training company New Roots, because I just believe every day is the first day of the rest of your life.
Yeah, I
And
love that.
Every day you can choose to grow.
And do something different. You can even change. Roots are not straight down.
Yeah.
When you see roots, they're all different
And they're
directions.
messy.
And they're messy.
And they create beauty.
God, I love that. I really love that. I've never known the we're probably just going to go into the new root stuff.
I know
on
it's
this one.
hard. I feel like I
It's
want to
okay.
get there.
That's
'cause
good.
It's the most exciting thing happening
No,
in my life.
it's okay.
Right now.
It's okay. I love that we're going to start there. So you become an attorney?
So I become an attorney. Yeah. So I got into law school in Houston, the South Texas College of Law, and loved it. I wanted to be a corporate litigator. Why? I don't know. I heard that they make a lot of money, but which is so funny because I'm not actually money driven.
That's what
money
I'm
is not a
I
motivator for me.
know.
As a
It's
human.
very interesting. Every time we talk about stuff like that and like selling the training and we got to make money, it's really never about the money though.
Never
and we'll
is.
get into that. It's about the families and the changing of lives and the direction of families. So it's funny to hear you say, so I was going to make $1 million.
Yeah. Well, I also met my husband through Young Life at the time, which
Right.
for those of you that don't know, it's a Christian outreach to unchurched high school kids.
Right.
We kind of call it, maybe I shouldn't say it. Young Life might not condone this, but I call it the sexy on-ramp to church, right?
Yeah. I love it.
Because it's, Jesus said, I've come so that you may have life and have it to the fullest.
Right.
So I think it's a sin to bore people with the gospel. And I stole that quote from I don't know who, but I just agree with it so much that I've adopted it as my own.
100%.
Because that's not who Jesus is.
At
and
all.
And Young Life gets that vision.
Right.
Anyway, so my husband was already walking down that track of full-time ministry. So somebody had to make the money.
That's for sure. You can't live on $12 an hour. I'm just joking.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, exactly.
So I thought that's what I wanted to do, but I also fell in love with mock trial, moot court. I really did love the idea of the courtroom.
Yes.
So I made this plan, Melissa, that I was going to work at the district attorney's office, get all this trial experience. I did all my internships there, everything. 2 months before I graduated, the district attorney's office went on a hiring freeze. So I find myself with $150,000 in student loan debt. Those payments are about $1,000 a month, married to a man in full-time ministry, and no job.
Gosh.
It was rough. It was very
that's
rough.
scary.
Yeah.
Well, because you also had a plan. So, like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I love that Jesus was like, God, it's cute. It's really cute that she keeps saying that. But I got something different. He doesn't talk like that. He doesn't do the shoulder part.
I think he does.
But I think he does with me. Hey, how you doing? He shimmies for me.
For sure. I get a little like,
how's it going? My name's Jizz House. He's good. He has to get my attention. It is definitely not how he talked to the apostles. Okay, let's just talk about that.
Exactly.
Okay, so what happened? I mean, no job.
No job. I did a couple of internships, including just like secretary work for some people. Eventually, I landed in this wonderful law firm out here in Katy, where we're from. And it was family law. And I really struggled because, I'm young, I'm naive. I think everybody stays married. And I'm like, oh, I'm helping people get divorced and this is hard. My pastor's wife, which I love this about my church, she goes, Mary Beth, when my loved one was getting divorced. I wish she would have had an attorney like you.
Yep.
A Christian attorney. And I
Yep.
just went, oh, I'm not the reason people are getting divorced,
That's right.
but I can help them in a dark place. And isn't that what Jesus did?
100%.
He went to those dark places not to correct people's behavior,
Right.
but to walk with them and show them hope in something bigger than the circumstances. in their life.
100%. I love that. I love that.
And I get to share the gospel. Well, because I'm the boss, I can do whatever the hell I want. But
Exactly. Exactly. I could share the gospel all day
I'm talking
long.
about Jesus all day.
I love that. I love that. That's one of the things that I love about we got to get into the fact that I work for you. I'm not just a podcaster. I'm part of the company now, which if you know me at all for more than 14 minutes, you're wondering, does Mary Beth know she doesn't know what she's talking about paralegal or anything legal? But that it's worked though, because what I love about what you said to me when we saw each other, I got unemployed in January. A lot has been going on. Unemployment, they pay you when they want to. And it's crazy, but I saw you at a conference and you were like, how are you doing? We hadn't seen each other. Honestly, we hadn't seen each other since the show. Which was a year ago.
That's right.
And so I was like, oh, hi. Oh my gosh. I've been thinking, blah, 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 blah. And you and your hot rod paralegal, the real one, Randy, y'all both were like, have
Don't
you ever?
disclose her name. I don't want anybody to steal her.
Okay, that's true. Her name is Brandy.
Brandy.
And she is not that good.
She's terrible.
Brandy sucks. But Brandy and you looked over at me and were like, well, wait, so you're not working right now? And I'm like, no. And just it's the kind of story where you're standing at a conference, you're kind of like catching up, but you could tell we were both like, yeah, so you're not working. Okay, great. And then you literally said, would you ever want to be a paralegal? Yeah. I looked behind me because I thought there was someone really smart. Allie McBeal was behind me. I was like, there is absolutely no way she's talking to me. I go, I don't even know how to type. You go, is that what you think paralegals do? I'm like, absolutely. And I think Brandy said, that's a court reporter. And I was like, oh, true. See, I don't even know who does what.
So I immediately offered you a job.
You were like, would you like to work for me tomorrow? But I think what I love about what you said to me, and you might not remember verbatim, but what you said to me, and I'm also the crier in the group. So I'm allowed to cry because I was also told one time when I first became a Christian, that's the Holy Spirit. And he's just, you're allowed to cry. So this was just sweet to me because you said, you can train people on paralegal work. You can train the paper part of it.
That's right.
But what I can't train you, Melissa, is the heart for people and heart for family.
The way you care for people.
And the way I care for people. And the family law part that I didn't know. But I just remember staring at you going, she's right. Like there's nothing, without me sounding arrogant at all, she's right. She's right about that.
I'm usually right.
You're always right. I have to say that 3 times in this whole podcast. I'm going to have to say that.
Here's $5.
They're $5. But I remember that being kind of a turning point for me. Like, I think I could do this. And I'm going to be 50 in 2 weeks. And
Great time to start a new career. My brain literally, I think my brain wakes me up once in the middle of the night going, hey, we could just go back to recruiting. You're actually really good at that. And it's very easy for you. It's like an old cowboy who smokes a pack a day.
Yeah. My brain is from New York and smokes cigarette. Hey, how you doing? Or West Texas, whatever. Depends on where I'm at.
Yeah.
Golly. So I said yes. And I remember the money talk is funny. We definitely we're not going to get into that, but it was funny. You're like, what are you used to making? And I said a number and you were like, this is, I love when you think, because you think like little kids draw thinkers. Not going to be able to get there.
Nope, can't do that.
Maybe 6 months is what you said.
Yeah.
And I said,
that's 8 months ago.
That was 14 years ago. And I'm just joking. But there's a way. Jesus has been working on this for at least about 3 years. I'm in a smaller apartment. I've cut back on a lot of things that in life, I know I have eyelashes. I know y'all can see it. I did not cut back on my eyelashes yet, but I have cut back. I don't have certain things in my life because I think Jesus knew money is not going to be everything for you, but being happy at your job and changing the world is really what I've always wanted you to do, Melissa, with your comedy, with your conversation. And I think this matched it. It was weird though, because I mean, paralegal, you just don't think that's going to happen. And then you introduced or talked to me more about New Roots. And that's where I think this, after you hear more about this, audience world, 14 cameras that are in front of us. James has cameras everywhere. I think he has a camera in his pocket right now. I don't know. But that's where in the last, and I hate to say it, I've been working for you since April. And right now it is July 1st. Right now, June 30th. July 1st is Monday. 29th. And in the last probably 30 days is when I am sitting in my sweet spot. I know it's going to be New Roots. So I want you to explain what New Roots is.
Sure.
And where it come about in your own words.
Right. So essentially after I worked at that family law firm, I opened my own law firm, took a few detours, went to corporate America, went to Africa a couple of times, came back, reopened my law firm, but landed essentially in family law, business law, estate planning, and probate. But a few of those original cases after I came back and reopened in 2020, which is a great time to start a business, by the way. Whatever.
COVID, the C word.
I was so frustrated and broken by how attorneys were encouraging their clients to weaponize the judicial system and hurt the other parent who's just trying to protect their kids. You know, I had one case where I did a full-blown jury trial, and the dad was an alcoholic. Like, had to be hospitalized, died on the table, was brought back to life, kind of alcoholic. And, you know, these parents are separated. So mom has no idea what's happening when the kids are with dad.
Gosh.
And the kids are coming home and saying stuff like, oh, you know, daddy's drinking out of he's getting the brown paper bags and pouring it into his water bottle. And it got to the point where one of the children witnessed his father urinate in a bottle next to his bed because he was so drunk, and then later drink out of that same bottle. So mom intervenes, and then dad gets a very litigious, manipulative attorney, and before you know it, a year and a half later, we're in a 6-day jury trial.
Wow.
The legal fees for that kind of contentious litigation, he paid over $100,000 for that.
Gosh.
My client paid a fourth of that because I stopped charging her because I was just defending her.
Wow.
You know, she helped me cover my costs, right?
Of course.
And she pays what she can, but at the end of the day, it certainly wasn't over $100,000.
Right.
All of that could have been prevented if we just had maybe a mental health professional or a conflict resolution professional.
Absolutely.
Talk to mom, hear her concerns, talk to dad, come up with a plan on how to protect the children from alcoholism, or give him some tools to maybe deal with that kind of stuff.
That's right.
Or maybe even see that he was sober. But because mom and dad couldn't talk to each other because of the years of conflict and repeated litigation, they just destroyed each other.
That's right.
And this attorney helped him weaponize the judicial system. It was never, he wanted primary custody. It was never about him really wanting to be a dad. It was about him just wanting to take the kids away from mom.
That's right.
And that's devastating.
Yes.
They could have put one or more of their kids all the way through college with that kind of money.
That's right.
Instead, it's sitting in a litigator's pocket.
Yep.
Who just created trauma, stress, and strife.
For everyone.
That's absolutely right.
Kids and both parents.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Because these kids had to talk to an amicus attorney.
That's right.
They had to talk to CPS. They had to talk to a reunification therapist. They had to talk to their own therapists. I mean,
were they almost, I mean, kids would, I'm noticing it in the kids. And then when you go through all of that, the kids start feeling like, what have I done wrong?
kids always
Trauma.
feel like that.
What have I, maybe I could have done better. Anyway, I don't want to get into that, but go ahead. So what?
Yeah. So that's kind of going on. And then I get a call from a gentleman out of state. I just happened to be looking in the family code for something. And I came across this thing called a family facilitator. I'm like, what is that? And so, my curiosity, I read the whole thing and I'm like, oh, this sounds really interesting. It's essentially an attorney, a social worker, or a licensed professional counselor with specific training in domestic violence, conflict resolution, family law, and family dynamics, child development, that kind of stuff.
Right.
The role of a facilitator is to help parents come to agreements.
Right.
Okay. Every single custody decree says possession shall occur as the parties agree. Period. Nobody gives a crap if you're following your court order. If it's good for you and your kids and you're agreeing, great.
Right.
Have a great time.
Right.
Want to do week on, a week off? High five.
Yep.
You want to do a 2-2-3? High 10. You do whatever you want. Nobody cares. You only have to get court involved if you're not agreeing. You only have to abide by the court order. So every single litigation that happens in a modification or enforcement can be prevented if the parties just come to an agreement.
That's right.
So I get this call from a guy I think he's in New Mexico, let's say.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I cannot practice law in New Mexico, sir. I apologize. And I was like, but maybe I could do like a consulting or some sort of facilitation. I'm like, I don't even know what that word means.
Yeah, you're like, I just read that in the book. I'm just going to use it.
I'm just going to use it. He had just gotten divorced, but their divorce took almost 2 years. So mom was already in a new relationship. They get divorced. Mom moves a few states away and takes the kids. And so from the kids' perspective, they lost their home. They lost their parent. They lost their friends. They lost their school. They have a new family now. That's a lot of. It's a lot to happen in a child. That's a lot to happen in an adult's life.
That's right.
Add the emotional maturity of a child, and that's just an overwhelming experience. Mm-hmm. So Christmas time rolls around, and the daughter doesn't want to come visit the dad.
And how old's the daughter?
I think at this time she was like 7 or 8.
Okay,
young girl.
Yeah,
she doesn't want to come, and dad's lawyer told him his only choice was to file an enforcement. Which, by the way, in enforcement, if you read it, it goes, I'm going to put you in jail. Okay, that's not going to help a co-parenting relationship.
And how much does that cost? Briefly,
starting retainers, usually for decent attorneys, that's $5,000 out the gate. Boom.
Gosh.
Just to file and get a case rolling. If you go through a full-blown trial, you're looking at closer to $10,000 for sure. And even more if it's a more complicated case or you have to go to mediation or do discovery.
Right.
So that's what his attorney said his only remedy was. And I said, well, what if I just try to talk to both of y'all and help you figure out a different solution? He goes, okay. I had one session with him. He paid me $150. And we came up with this idea that instead of making his daughter come to him, he would go to her. And he would meet her new friends and see her new school and spend time with her in her new environment. And I never heard from him again because it worked. So in that one, now the facilitation doesn't go that great every time.
Absolutely,
Let's
but it's the point.
It's the point.
Yeah.
Our judicial system and the litigious mindedness of family litigators is traumatizing people and hurting families.
Yeah. And
that it's the opposite should literally be happening.
I agree.
So at that point I was like, oh, this facilitation thing
it's so good. Oh my gosh. It's so good.
It's so good.
Oh, that was bad. Oh God. I wasn't expecting that. That got me. Sorry, guys. Okay. Yeah. But that's exactly how you got the bug, where you were like,
right.
All of a sudden Jesus was like, yes. And you and him. And I mean, all the ideas that came up.
For sure. Well, and ironically, in that moment when I was like, well, first of all, I looked at training courses. There were not very many in Texas. And this could be a nationwide thing, which I'm hoping to make it that someday.
It will be.
But,
yeah.
it's just, first of all, you have to have a law license or a counseling license. That's already hard to get. And then to do 88 hours of training on top of that, and there's very limited courses and they're only a few times a year. I'm like, this is a barrier to entry
Yes.
of something that is incredible.
Yes.
And a judge can literally go, y'all are fighting too much. I'm going to appoint a facilitator. And then all of a sudden you've got a third party that's trying to help you come to agreements instead of one attorney that's saying, hide everything bad about you and expose everything bad about the other party.
Yep.
The other attorney's doing the same
thing. So no one's really
How are we
talking.
having conflict resolution?
Yeah. Really quick, I want to stop you here because I want to ask you.
Because I've been talking in one
No. This is what we need. I need to know, because there might be some people out there that really are. Well, I hope that are really like, wait a minute, what's the difference? Wait, how do I get a family? What's the difference between a mediator and a family facilitator? Because I know the answer to that, but I think that's important.
It is. That's a great question. So typically a mediator is you go for 4 hours or all day. You bring all the issues to the table. It's confidential, which means anything that's discussed there cannot be used ever outside of it.
That's key to remember, guys.
And you come to agreements on those issues and then everybody walks away.
Right.
That's different than a family facilitator. Or a parenting facilitator, whatever term you want to use. A parenting facilitator is not a one day in time. They can talk to mom, they can talk to dad. Lo and behold, they can even talk to the kids if it's professional and age appropriate.
Sure.
And it can be an ongoing process. It can be before litigation. It can be during litigation. It can be after litigation. But it can be, frankly, it could probably even be for families who aren't divorced yet. But I don't want to cross any boundaries or piss off BHEC.
Yeah.
But typically it's just conflict resolution.
Yeah.
And it's not confidential.
And what does that mean?
Well, so that's an interesting aspect of this because in couples that are generally good people, decent parents, that's not going to matter. Because they're going to come to the table genuinely wanting conflict resolution. But that ain't everybody's case.
Nope.
There's a lot of situations where you have a domestic violence situation.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's nothing to do with physical abuse. It has to do with psychological abuse, financial abuse, manipulation, control. There are absolutely parents who don't give a crap about their kids, but they're going to use their kids to hurt the other parent.
That's right.
I have seen it over and over and over again.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh.
So having a non-confidential facilitator step into the scene, it puts the teacher in the room. So the person who's extremely abusive is now on display publicly. They can't secretly try to hurt the other parent anymore. But also, facilitators can testify. So if you get that rare situation where somebody is really genuinely just abusive and doesn't care about the process and wants to weaponize litigation, a facilitator, a good one, is going to see that and they are allowed to tell the court that's what's happening.
Yeah.
And the court can then award attorney's fees to the non-abusive parent. Yeah. The court can then maybe limit some of the communication that has to happen between parents or protect the children from going into potentially abusive situations. Right. You don't get that kind of professional witness in custody cases typically.
That's right.
Sometimes you'll get a therapist. Right. Most therapists hate testifying. They don't want to touch this stuff with a 10-foot pole. Yeah. Or they'll only talk to a kid or a parent.
That's right.
There are
That's
very
right.
few therapists that get involved
in
the whole mess.
In the mess.
And
that's right.
We need it so desperately.
We need it. We need it so bad. I that's what I've learned. And I will misspeak because I'm not as trained as you are, but I just know that we've heard like different situations where you can get a parent facilitator after 1.5 years of litigation or something like that. Is that right? Am I saying that right? Or
yes,
what do I mean by that?
There are some professionals that think your case doesn't need a facilitator until you've been in litigation for 1.5 years. Yeah. I completely disagree.
I disagree
with that.
Because what if, I mean, do you know what can happen in 1.5 years to a 7-year-old? Right. And a woman. And because it's not all, I mean, yes, it's all about the kids, but you're also talking about two humans.
That's right.
That they have a life too. And Jesus doesn't want us to walk around being miserable and hating ourselves and other people. So if we can save those two people too, and the children, why wouldn't we do this?
I dare you to think that maybe just maybe, you wouldn't wind up in 18 months of litigation. If you had a facilitator at the beginning of the case.
That's right. It's so weird to me that's just not a thing. It's just interesting. So let's get back to, okay, it was hard. You looked for training yourself. You're like, how can how does this work? Where's training? You saw maybe one or two, right? And they were boring. But what was your idea?
We are all on the same team. I'm not going to put down anybody's training course.
That's true. I apologize. You're right.
Yeah.
Because training is training.
That's exactly right. And we're all on the same team.
And we all learn differently.
That's exactly correct.
So,
right.
Yeah.
So somebody might take my training course and go, meh.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I just decided I'm going to make my own. And when I had that moment, I tell you what, there are not that many times in my life where I've thought that I physically felt the presence of the Holy Spirit, like a presence of God. And in that moment, I got
chills.
Was just like my whole body was just like on fire. It was exactly like, had you ever watched Lord of the Rings?
I have not.
Okay, well, our audience might love this.
Yes.
But there's this scene where Lady Galadriel, she's like one of the most badass elves that exists.
Yeah.
And she's tempted with the dark evil ring. And she's like, instead of a dark lord, you will have a green and all will fear me or something, love me or something like that.
And that's how you felt?
In that moment, it was how I felt. I was like, I'm taking over
You're like, I'm taking over the world, everybody. How did you come up with the names New Roots?
I don't think I did. I think one of my ride or dies came up with it.
Really?
And then we just ran with it and loved it.
What does it mean to you, though?
It just means
it's great. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I'm a big. No one is too far gone. Period.
Amen.
And sometimes that means an encounter with Jesus.
Yep.
And sometimes that also means therapy or training or education.
That's right.
Most of the time, it probably means both.
All of it. All of the above. Yes.
Exactly.
But you're right. You're right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. So I just, and there's so many analogies in the Bible about how God will cut off the bad branches and cultivate the good stuff and where seeds are planted. And and I love things that grow.
Yeah.
So for me, it's got a very spiritual undertone, but a very hopeful one too.
Yeah.
Nobody gets married going, I'm going to get divorced and we're going to co-parent. But it happens a lot.
Oh, and even the non-marrieds out there. I was not married. I was with Kylie's dad for 11 minutes.
Hey, that's impressive, actually. I thought it was more like 15 seconds. But
that joke never fails.
Thank you. Thank you, James. I say it on stage at least once a week. So thank you, Chris Isaac. That's her dad, not the rich one. I was with the other one. So whatever. Even I think what I love about it is I was never married. I don't have the same exact stories that you're talking about, but I even see where Kylie's dad and I and our family, there was about a 10-year time that we would have really done well with a family facilitator because we're both good people that are just we made some poor decisions in our life, but we both love Kylie.
right.
But we needed to be told that a couple times. This isn't about you and me. This is about her. I didn't like you in the beginning, Chris. Why would I love you right now? Jokingly. But you see what I'm saying? Like we didn't,
You're right.
I mean, we didn't get married for a reason. That's no disrespect to Chris and I, but we didn't get married for a reason. We didn't go down that road for a reason. We have a mutual love for each other.
And our child.
And our child. But now I would have loved to have had a situation where somebody helped me through that.
Right.
Instead of, you can sue him.
Exactly.
You can take him to court.
Take him to the cleaners.
Yeah, you can take
Get a bulldog attorney.
Yes,
That
I was
term
told that
pisses
by my
me off.
own mother, and she's no longer around, but she really was because she's from that world.
Right.
I'm going to take him for whatever. And that's
That's
okay.
the only world that really exists. Even
Right.
today, that's what's talked about the
Sue
most.
him, take him for whatever. He owes you this. He owes. I mean, when you're talked to like this, and I'm being a little bit silly, but when you have an attorney talking to you like that, you almost you get in a beat your chest moment also.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. I will. And then you get in your car and you're like, why why do I have to do it that way?
And it's such strong language, like protect your rights. You have the right, blah, blah, blah. All those things are true.
They are.
But, ironically, the way the law sits today is parents have rights to see their kids. Well, you know what? I think children have a right to grow up in a non-abusive home.
Yeah.
And our litigious system isn't helping that.
It's not.
So let's change it.
So you had the moment where you were like, I'm going to take over the world. And then what? I mean, my gosh, because I've been there where you're like, I'm going to be me. I'm going to have a podcast. I'm going to have this. I'm going to be a comedian. I'm going to do this. I'm going to, and then I turn on the TV and watch the Today Show instead.
Exactly.
So you have to make it happen. Action has to happen. So what was next?
Sure. Right. So, I'm a true entrepreneur. I've had a bajillion ideas and, bajillion minus two. Have just gone by the wayside. Some after some financial investment. Ooh,
right.
Don't tell my husband. Just kidding. He knows everything.
He knows everything.
He knows everything. He's such a good supporter. Anyway, and he's hot too. Like he
is kind of cute.
I just hit the jackpot on that one.
You did.
Then the hard work started. What does this mean? What is required? How do I do this? It's not the first business I've started. So
right.
I knew some of the fundamentals, but
right.
But my business mentor said there are people who can think of ideas, and there are people who can execute ideas.
Gosh, so true. And we need them all.
We do. We need them all, and true entrepreneurs have to have both. And so there's no substitution for longevity.
Yeah.
I put the boots to the ground. I thought I would get it done in about a year. That deadline came and gone.
Yeah.
Came and went. Gone and came. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's not there anymore. It was there. Now it's not. Yeah.
And I really considered just kind of saying, maybe this is a closed door.
Yeah.
But it just, I never had peace about that. So I just kept going. And then God started really bringing people in that could help me. Like this incredibly brilliant summer intern. She went to OU. So sorry. Boomers suck. Anyway, boo. But she's amazing.
Yeah. We love her.
And she's helping me with the online course. I've got this high school intern who's incredible. And she can knock out a PowerPoint like nobody's business.
Exactly.
And you.
Thank you.
And what you bring to the table of your passion, your experience, the way you can talk to people and get to the heart of who they are.
Right.
And just how fun you are to work with.
Yeah, thank you.
So
it's been so fun. We've been videoing our own. So we've just been trying to find speakers.
Yeah, you tell me what, in your perspective, what do you think this training course how's it gonna impact the world?
I think what I love about it is it's going to be very different. Like we've already said, it's going to be very different than any other training I've ever seen, because it's going to be experts in their own field, but also with their personal story. I don't think people are going to feel talked at and taught to. They're going to be learning something from people's stories and people's, this is why I'm doing it. Their whys and their whats. And I think, and their hows, of course. But I think that's what's going to be. And I love that you wanted comedy in it. I love that even I might be the comedian, but everyone that we've videoed or seen has some string of like comedy in their own life. So that's where Jesus comes in. He's been putting a lot of great people in your line, because everyone there's not one that's been like, do I need to go stand up behind him and be like, da, 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 da? Because it's like, everyone has a zippity. I mean, everyone's just had a great, and we've also got some people, they're very, very, sorry, somebody just walked in. So they're very, they're experts in their own field, but they're also willing to help, and they believe in this also.
Right.
That's what I love, is that we're not just getting a bunch of people to do a PowerPoint, point this way, point that way. They actually are like, wait, what are we? Oh, wait, this is we need to do this.
I've got some former judges, some current judges. I've got people that have written the very laws. I've got a former senator. I've got the head of communications department from the University of Texas at Austin. I had no idea those people would come into my life at some point, and those doors have just opened.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to hear their stories, to get their interviews, and to be able to put it in one place.
One place. That's the thing. So this will be the 88-hour training, correct?
Correct.
In one place.
Yes.
And the people that would take this training, our audience would be attorneys, social workers, and therapists.
Correct.
Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah. Basically, somebody that is regulated by BHEC, the board of, and I have no idea what the acronym stands for, but the board that supervises social workers and therapists.
Okay.
Or the State Bar of Texas.
Got it.
So, yeah. My hope really is to get a lot of social workers in this industry.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because that, therapy is, let's talk about the individual and let's do work so that you can be in a better mental health space.
Right.
Attorneys are very much, let's look at the law, let's look at what your rights are, let's look at how to protect them, and also, maybe consider other people, which is rare, but it happens. Getting attorneys to think outside of, one of my issues with how litigators practice law is we get so stuck and we have to advocate for our client that we forget sometimes that advocating for our client could mean putting them just in a better position in life.
Yeah.
Which might mean not destroying their baby mama on the stand.
Exactly.
But that feels like a conflict of our ethical obligations.
Yeah.
But it's not. This is family law.
Yes.
Family law.
Yes.
Not all the other areas of law.
All the other laws.
All the other ones.
It's true though. It's true.
Right.
So when do
Boy,
we?
I went on a tangent. That was not even the original question.
No. This is what I wanted. Because I think it's obviously going to be for profit. This is not going to be a nonprofit. This is for profit. We are selling this training.
Yes.
We won't even talk about that yet because we don't have that all, unless you wanted to, but I don't think we have that all nailed down.
I don't have the pricing nailed down yet because
don't.
I've got to do the whole analysis of overhead, et cetera. But
that's right. But it will be something that we are charging for and that they can have. I see a social work. I just have so many dreams about this. I just think that what we need to be talking about though is why people should do this. I think that's going to be our biggest, why would somebody want to take this training? And I think that's what we've done here. So I'm glad that we're talking about all of this. When is your deadline? And when do we think we're going to launch? I know.
No pressure.
I know.
Maybe you can just edit this part out. No. I really believe we'll be able to launch by August 1st.
Yeah. And that's a soft
year.
launch because we have talked about doing possibly a soft launch where it's launching.
Right.
But it might not be it's gonna evolve.
It is.
That's what I meant by that.
I am not going to stop my pursuit of meeting incredible professionals that have something to say.
Yep.
And adding that to the course content.
Yes.
That's going to, for as long as this company exists, that's going to be one of my goals.
That's right.
Because it's just, why not?
Well, families evolve. So this should too.
Exactly right. That's exactly right.
So I think that's why this is going to be a life changer and a world changer. Is there anything else that I've missed that you want to mention about New Roots or about the training or anything? Because I want to make sure that we have a good understanding of it because I just love it. I hope other people are loving it. It's funny because there might be 3 people out there that are like, that's cool. And I'm like thinking 16,000.2 million people are like, yes,
1
New
million
Roots.
people.
I love New Roots.
Well, essentially, we're starting with the training content for being a family facilitator.
Yeah.
Included in that is the content to become a mediator.
Right.
And a family mediator, which all have different requirements. So that's where we're starting. And, I have dreams about where that's going to go.
I know.
And I'm just going to see where it goes. It's like any business and any startup business often doesn't end where it begins. So
that's very true.
I hope you stay with me and I hope you're along for the ride.
Yeah, I love it. So where I see myself and what you and I have talked about is me trying to be the voice of it and the face of it and talking about it. Not the only. I'm just saying I want that to be part of my job because I think this is if you can change a family, and me being a child of divorce, several of them, I know I still deal with that at 50 years old.
You're several different children, like you've got multiple personalities?
Several different divorces. I mean, I didn't go through one divorce. My mom and dad went through a lot of divorces because I've got step parents that, I mean, I have a lot of that. And if that can be different, then I just feel like if that could have been different in my life, I love who I am now, but I don't like the struggles that I do deal with. I'm allowed to say that. I'm allowed to say I love who I am. My life, if it was different, I wouldn't be who I am today. Blah, 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 the Hobby Lobby words, you know? If I wasn't who I was. Okay, I get that. But you know what? If I could change some of that, I actually would, because I struggle a lot in that area. So if we can step into that now and help a lot of families, I just don't think it's going to go on deaf ears. I think it's silly for us to not try and help families.
I mean, our government spends millions of dollars in suicide prevention.
Right.
Okay. I don't know how many suicides there are in America in any given year, but it's probably in the thousands.
Oh, yeah.
16,000 people got divorced in just Harris County in 2016.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably way more than that now, I bet.
Honestly, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, COVID did a number.
COVID did a number.
Oh, I have to be in this house with this person.
Wait, I have to bring them tissue? This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well,
so it's a big deal. And
it's a huge deal. So, well, I'm thankful for you. And I'm thankful for New Roots. And I think it's going to be a huge deal. So thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah. And
thanks for having me on the show. Hold on while I drink the tears of my opposing counsel.
Oh my gosh. And goodbye.
Peace out.
Peace out.